Shalom, shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory unto YAHAWAH, Bahasham, YAHAWASHI, Bahasham, Rachak. Double honors to the elder apostles and the elder bishops of Great Millstone, who rule very well, very beautifully. Double salutations to the Akim who are pushing this gospel in truth and in sincerity to the best of their ability, given to them by YAHAWASHI. Peace, blessings, and salutations be unto the elect scattered abroad. May the election of YAHAWAH, Bahasham, Lord willing, fall upon all your houses. This is the brother YAHAWAH, come back at you, Lord will, with the edifying lesson through the spirit and power of YAHAWAH, Bahasham, Lord will. It is edifying, Lord will. It is straight to the point. But I'm going to start right here. This is Romans chapter 15 and verse 4. It says, "For whatsoever things were written aforetime were written for our learning, that we through patience and comfort of the scriptures might have hope." And the scriptures say, faith come by hearing, and by hearing the word of the Most High, right? So as we read, about the accounts of our forefathers and, and how, that through their trust, belief, and faith in YAHAWASHI, they were able to overcome, again, through the spirit and power of YAHAWASHI, the situations that ultimately looked too big for them, man. And I ultimately want to jump into, in 1 Samuel's, right, going into the account of our King David, right, about, how him being, a young man, right, came up against, a Philistine that was raised up and trained up in the art of war, how he came up against that man and ultimately defeated him, again, through the spirit and power of YAHAWASHI, right? And as you read in this chapter, right, King David by his father was ultimately told, right, to go and deliver up some, I think it was some parched corn, I think what it was, as you read, to his brothers who were, in the lineup, right? Because at the time, the Israelites and the Philistines were about ready to go to war, right? So, his older brothers were in the lineup, right? So as he's running out there, to deliver, what his father ultimately sent him to deliver, he, was asking questions about, this Philistine, man, right? And asking, hey, what's the reward for, if someone ultimately comes up against this man and defeats him, And they were giving him an answer, man. So, he ultimately approached Saul, and mind you, right, this is an account of the faith that our King David had in YAHAWASHI, is a very great man, very, very great man, right? And again, we're reading about his faith, man, and how the Lord ultimately strengthened him and allowed him to overcome his enemy, right, which seemed greater than him at the time. Which again, when we read about these accounts, man, they give us comfort, right? They give us comfort and increase our faith, right? Knowing that the Lord is going to do the same miracles that we're going to read about, right? He's going to do those same miracles for us, man. Lord, will we be part of the elect, right? And I'm going to drop down 1 Samuel 17, and outside of verse 32, it says, "And David said to Saul, let no man's heart fail because of him. Thy servant will go and fight with the Philistines." So, King David saying, hey, don't be afraid. He said, I'll handle it, And Saul said to David, "Thou art not able to go against this Philistine to fight with him, for thou art but a youth, and he a man of war from his youth." Right? So he was doubting him, man. He was doubting David, man. Just based off of, what he looked like, man, because it was young. Right. But again, as we read in 1 Maccabees, right, the 3rd chapter, the 19th verse, right, all our forefathers knew that our strength cometh from heaven. Right. And actually think, right, as we're going to read, right, King David was the first one to make that statement, man. Continue on in verse 34. It says, "And David said unto Saul, Thy servant kept his father's sheep. And there came a lion and a bear, and took a lamb out of the flock. And I went out after him and smote him and delivered it out of his mouth. And when he arose against me, I caught him by his beard and smote him and slew him." Right? It says, "Thy servant slew both the lion and the bear, And that uncircumcised Philistine shall be as one of them, seeing he hath defied the armies of the living power. That's heavy, man. Right? So David's basically standing here saying, hey, I've been in this situation before. Right? I've been in situations where it looks dire. Right? You know, but it's through YAHAWAH, Bahasham, YAHAWASHI, right? I was able to slew them, and I'm going to do the same to this Philistine. That's the mentality that that King David is coming in, you know, which is the same mentality that we have to have, because we're coming up to, you know, a situation that's, you know, deadly, man, right? Jacob's trouble, the hour of temptation, right, where our faith is going to be tested, right? And we have to go in there with the mentality that the Lord has brought us through many different situations, right, leading up to this final test, right? And he's gotten us through these situations, man, right? Your situation could be, you know, something to where you were having like a serious illness, man, within your body, right, where it seemed like you were gonna die, or a financial situation where, you know, it just seems like you're never gonna get out, man. You might be at the bottom, you might be homeless. Right? You might have to lose everything, man. You know? Hey, well, the Lord YAHAWAH, Bahasham, YAHAWASHI has brought us through those things, man. Whatever it may be. Right? So we have to believe and trust in YAHAWAH, Bahasham, YAHAWASHI, that as long as we continue, you know, to do what he tells us to do, to follow the commandments to the best of our ability, you know, to continue to trust and believe in him, that he will do the same for us as we read about him doing for our forefathers, man. Right? Continue on in verse 37. It says, David said, moreover, YAHAWAH, Bahasham, YAHAWASHI, that delivered me out of the paw of the lion and out of the paw of the bear, he will deliver me out of the hand of this Philistine. And Saul said unto David, go, and YAHAWAH, Bahasham, YAHAWASHI be with thee. Right? It says, and Saul armed David with his armor, and he put an helmet of brass upon his head. He also armed him with a coat of mail. And David girded his sword upon his armor, and he essayed to go, for he had not proved it. And David said unto Saul, I cannot go with these, for I have not proven them. And David put them off him. Right, man? So he didn't have any weapon of war. Right, really, right, in the eyes of the people today, right, that a slingshot would be a toy, man. Right, so he basically went out there with a toy. He didn't go out there with no armor. He didn't go out there with no, you know, weapon of war. He went out there with a sling, man, a few stones and a sling, as we're going to read, right, which just shows you, right, the Lord has done this many a times where he ultimately, you know, took away things that could, you know, ultimately boast a person up. Oh, you know, by my skill, or, you know, by my strength, you know, I slew this man. No, right, the Lord will eliminate all those possibilities of you, you know, ultimately taking that, you know, unto yourself, right, that you did it yourself. Right, just as we read about in the Maccabees, in the first Maccabees in the 4th chapter, right? The Maccabees and his army had no armor, no sword, right? And there was fewer of them, and they were able to ultimately kill the thousands that were before him, or before them. You know, you can go and read that first Maccabees, the 4th chapter, man. Right? Because that ultimately said, hey, this is not of me. I couldn't have done it. I didn't have no armor. I didn't have no, you know, weapon. Right? Coming up against somebody who's been trained in fighting with sword and armor, right? Those things are not light, right? They're heavy, so you know he's built, you know. He's quick, fast, strong. You know, you can't take that unto yourself saying, I ain't got no armor. You know what I mean? I haven't been training with armor. You know, I'm not that strong. I'm younger, right? So that literally puts you at a disadvantage, man. You know, but the Lord can make someone who's 5 foot seem 10 foot, man, right? By their faith in him, you know, and that's exactly what the Lord did for King David in this moment, man. And that's exactly what the Lord's going to do, you know, when it's our time, right? It said, verse 40, it says, and he took his staff in his hand and chose him 5 smooth stones out of the brook and put them in a shepherd's bag, which he had, even in a script. And his sling was in his hand, and he drew near to the Philistine. And the Philistine came on, drew near unto David, and the man that bare the shield went before him. And when the Philistine looked about and saw David, he disdained him, for he was but a youth and ruddy and of a fair countenance, man. You know? So, hey, King David was far younger than this man. He was a young man. You know, this is a man that's, you know, that's, you know, he's been through a few wars, man. He's got a few scars, right? So he's an aged man compared to David, man. You know, watch it. He starts making fun of David, right? Verse 43, it says, "And the Philistine said unto David, Am I a dog that thou comest to me with staves? And the Philistine cursed David by his gods. And the Philistine said to David, Come to me, and I will give thy flesh unto the fowls of the air, and to the beasts of the field." Right? So he's threatening David. He said, "Come here, I'm gonna kill you." Right? He's like, he's looking at David like, this is easy work, right? You know. But he's not counting the fact that YAHAWASHI is standing in his corner, man. Again, the Lord, you know, because of that man's faith in him, he can make a man that's 5 foot be like 10 foot, man. You know, and have all the strength and all the skill and all the might of someone who's twice his size, man. You know, it's very possible, man. But it's only possible, you know, if that person, right, whether it be us or the next person, has faith in YAHAWASHI, man. Because that faith is what's ultimately going to make us double in size, man, through the Spirit, man. You know, in the sight of our enemies, right? And I'm not talking literal, right? You literally doubling in size. No, but I'm talking about through the Spirit, man. You know, like Jake, man. Jake, you know, will make comments, man. Oh, I might be 5'9", but I'm 6'5". You know, why? Because they, you know, they, you know, they're big spirited, man, so to speak, man. You know, they're basically saying, oh, you know, I ain't no bitch, you know, so to speak. You know, but just to explain that, let's continue on. This is verse 45. It says, Then said David to the Philistine, Thou comest to me with a sword and with a spear and with shield. But I come to thee in the name of Yahawah, Bahasham YAHAWASHI, Lord of hosts, the God of the armies of Israel, whom thou hast defied. Right? It says, This day will the Lord deliver me, it's like it will deliver thee into mine hand, and I will smite thee and take thine head from thee, and will give the carcasses of the host of the Philistines this day unto the fowls of the air and to the wild beasts of the earth, that all the earth may know that there is a power in Israel. Woo-hoo-hoo-hoo. So he's like, nah, man. Nah, you're leaving out one factor, man. You know? He said, I got Yahawah, Bahasham YAHAWASHI in my corner. So I'm not, you know, again, through the Spirit, right? He's not no youth at that point, man. You might be looking on the outer man, right? But through the Spirit, hey, he's you know, an aged man of war, you know, bigger, badder, and stronger than this Philistine, man. Again, through the Spirit, man. You know, with YAHAWASHI in his corner, man. Right? It says, verse 47, it says, And all the assembly shall know that Yahawah, Bahasham YAHAWASHI, saveth not with sword and spear, for the battle is the Lord's, and he will give you into our hands. Right, man. He said the battle is of the Lord, man. Again, you know, you read in 1 Maccabees, the 3rd chapter, the 19th verse, right? Judas Maccabeus states that, right? And it says, right, that our strength cometh from heaven, man. Right? King David was the first one to make that statement, man. It's 100% true, right? The only way that we are able to overcome the situations that is, you know, presenting itself, right? Whatever situation that may be, right, leading all the way up to Jacob's trouble, right? We have to understand that YAHAWASHI is the only one that can get us through these situations, man. You know? Right? It says, it said, verse 48, and it says, And it came to pass when the Philistine arose and came and drew nigh to meet David and ran toward the army to meet the Philistine. And David put his hand in his bag and took thence a stone and slang it and smote the Philistine in his forehead, that the stone sunk into his forehead, and he fell upon his face to the earth. Right? It says, so David prevailed over the Philistine with a sling and with a stone, and smote the Philistine and slew him, but there was no sword in the hand of David. So the Lord ultimately, just imagine that, man. Right? He's basically bringing the toy, right? Anything can happen, right? David, while he was walking towards that Philistine, could have stepped on a rock as he was pulling that sling back. It caught him off balance, right? And he missed his shot, right? Something could have happened. He could have tripped, whatever it may be, right? So the point is that space that was around the Philistine, right? It's a lot easier to hit air than it is to hit a target, right? A central point target, right? One that's directly in front of you. But the Lord made it to where that, that King David had perfect aim. And not only that, right? When you throw a rock, it can only move so far. It's, if anything, off of something as hard as bone or just like wood or even metal, right? That rock is going to bounce off. But the Lord had it to where there was so much power, so much force behind that rock that it embedded inside that Philistine's skull, man, and killed him, right? So that was all YAHAWASHI shot, man. That was all YAHAWASHI shot. And David knew that, man. David knew just that. That's why he wasn't flinching, right, when he had to take that armor off, man, because it was, he didn't prove it, right? So he knew the Lord is the one that does the miracles, right? The Lord killeth and he maketh alive, not us, man, right? And David knew that, man. It's a righteous man, heavy, man. Again, when we read these things, man, it should boost your faith, man. It should get you excited. Like, hey, yeah, man, as long as I continue that faith, man, as long as I continue to push to the end, Lord will, I'm going to be part of the elect. The Lord's going to do the same for me, the same for us, right? It says, verse 51, therefore David ran and stood upon the Philistine and took his sword and drew it out of the sheath thereof and slew him and cut off his head therewith. And when the Philistines saw their champion was dead, they fled. Meaning he overcame his enemy, right? He overcame his enemy. Was it easy? Well, in this case, when we read it, yeah, it was pretty easy, right? But our in reality, right, are all the battles we're going to go through going to be easy? No, man. Most of our battles are going to be hard, right? It's going to look tough. Where you thinking David didn't look at that and be like, oh, shit, right? Doesn't mean he lost faith, but he might have done it, He was solid in his faith in the Lord, man. Sometimes we might look at a situation and go, oh, shit, right? But we know that the YAHAWASHI is gonna get us through. But nonetheless, hey, we have those moments where we look at, man, we're like, damn, like this is tough, This is tough. But we have to remember that the battle cometh from YAHAWASHI, right? The strength cometh from YAHAWASHI, man. And through him, we're going to overcome, at all times, man. At all times, right? Let's grab this. I don't want to make this too long. I wanted to get that account because it's heavy, right? This is, I just had it. I just had it in my head. Salakia. Well, let's grab this. Sirach. Chapter 2. And we'll read verse 10. Right? Sirach chapter 2, verse 10. It says, look at the generations of old and see, did ever any trust in the Lord and was confounded? Or did any abide in his fear and was forsaken? Or whom did he ever despise that called upon him? Right, man. Right. And again, as we read these accounts of our forefathers, right, we know the answer to that, man. Right. The Lord has always been there for them, man. Never forsook them, never confounded them, but always came through for them, and through them was glorified because of it, man. That's heavy, man. Right. It says, for the Lord is full of compassion and mercy, long suffering, and very pitiable, and forgiveth sins and saveth in the time of affliction, man. Again, there's that proof, man. Not what I wanted, but that's still a heater, man. Right? The Lord will deliver us from these said perils that are to come, right? As long as we continue to have faith, as long as we continue to trust in YAHAWASHI, man. That's it, man. That's all we have. We have nothing else, right? And again, the time that's coming is going to be like a time like no other. Right? All these things, these situations that we read about, right, that our forefathers went through, the armies that they came up against, right, the famines and stuff that they went to is going to be, is nothing compared to what's coming in our time, man. So we have to ultimately gird up our loins like a man, get this truth, man, bear our cross to the end, and continue to keep the faith, man, because that's the time that we're in, you know. But we have to, again, look at the, you know, the scriptures of old, man, you know, and read these accounts. Again, it gives us that faith, knowing the Lord is going to, he came through for our forefathers, he's going to do it again, man. Right? We're calling upon the right name, right? We're doing it in truth and in sincerity, just as they were. So those miracles got to take place, man. Those miracles got to happen, man. You know, Lord will we be part of the elect. So with that, Lord will is edifying, Lord will straight to the point. I want to give all praise, honor, and glory unto YAHAWAH, Bahasham, YAHAWASHI, Bahasham, YAHAWASHI, double honors to the other apostles, the other bishops, the great millstone. Till next time, I say shalom.